Hey everyone, this is Gnogart, and today I wanted to talk to you about Hecahands. Now, Phantom Revenge is out, at least in the EU, and while Cooltune has been widely seen as the most competitive out of the options, and any aircraft has been looked at as the fun budget option, the Hecahand archetype has kind of been left behind. So I figured I'm gonna do some deck profile for you about Chimera Hecahands. Now, I don't think pure Hecahands is a deck yet. You can obviously mix it with some engines, so I tried obviously Magistas because Hecahands doesn't have a normal summon, and I tried K9 because Noroi is currently the best normal summon in the game, but I figured in the end that the Chimera deck with Gazelle as your normal summon still is the best way to play it, because Chimera can search the Hecahands, so you can cut down the Hecahands card a bit and play a small, precise package and end on a very strong board while using the Hecahand cards to a good extent. Now, you do not play the big fusion in this version. This is a small package, so if you want to play that, you have to play a bigger Hecahands version, which you can do. But this version here plays a bit more non-engine and a big Chimera and a small Hecahands package. But let's hop into the main deck first. Now, starting off, the main deck is obviously 3 of the Nightmare Apprentice. This is the not the only one-card starter, but the only good one-card starter in the deck, as it doesn't take your normal summon while being full combo. I will show you that later. And it can get you into both Chimera and Hecahands engines, so I'll definitely max this out, because if you see one of the engines, you can just access the other one with this. So definitely a 3-off, and it's level 6, so that's good for some extra deck plays. Then we have 3 Cornfield Quaddle. This grabs you Gazelle. Most importantly, it is the Negating Grave, of course, but also it can, if you open this with 4 non-engine, you can grab Mirror Sword, and that's also still full combo. Then we have 3 Gazelle. I mentioned that before. This is the normal summon of choice. And then we have 1 Baphomet and 1 Mirror Sword Knight. We have to cut down some cards, and Mirror Sword Knight, at least in Advanced Constructed, is a vulnerable normal summon to Ash Blossom. So I'd rather normal summon the Gazelle, because if Gazelle gets Impermed or Veilered, you can still make plays, have the body on field. But of course you can play around with those ratios a bit, like a second Baphomet for the grind game. But generally what I ended up doing is I go grab my Chimera Fusion via Gazelle, and I summon the Big Wing Baphomet either during the combo or during my opponent's turn via the Mirror Sword Knight. Then of course we play 3 Chimera Fusion, just the best card in the deck, and you're always happy to see it because it kind of helps you through hand traps. So that is the Chimera engine. I think it's pretty standard right now. It's like 3 Quaddle and 1 Mirror Sword Knight, and the rest also in those ratios. And then we have a small Fiendsmith package of 3 cards. So we have the Engraver, and we have the 2 heroes to access him. Now, I originally wanted to not play this because it does take a toll on your extra deck, but as I played it, the deck, I realized that Droll and Nibiru can really hurt you if you don't have this engine. So it kind of is here now as a 3-off package, but it does a lot for those 3 cards. Then for the Hecahands, we run the smallest package, basically. Of course, the smallest package would be like one of this, but this is just a good card. It doesn't take your normal summon, and it gets you basically both counter traps set up with the level 8 on board as well, which if it sticks, it just grabs you something back. So Iptel is also level 6. That's why I mentioned the Apprentice before, has a good level. So Iptel, I would max this out even if you run a small package. And then we have 1 Yaddle, 1 Hidden Hecahands, 1 Gygas as our big Hecahands of choice. The other one is not that likely to hit all the time. Of course, if you play against Dracotail, you can hand drop them, and then he's miles ahead of this one. And especially with the Chimera engine, you can rip 2. But I wanted to go for the safe line. This looks at the top 3 of the deck and steals a card there. So this is very likely to just get you into your Hecahands fusion. and then we run 2 of the counter traps as the payoff for the engine. So very compact package. You just run through every one of these just via the Chimera combo. And then we go into non-engine, and the kind of an overlap between non-engine and Hecahands is the Hecahands Godos. Now, I was considering just playing a Ghost Bell or a Droll over this, but I moved them to the side and play this because this is actually such a powerful card if you get it off. So if your opponent adds a card, you can special this, and during their turn, you can quick effect take a monster from the grave and summon it. So not only is it grave hate, but it's also if your monsters stick, like this and the monster you stole, if those stick, you can just tribute them off for the Jawza, and you just have access to your Hecahands engine that way. So I wanted to try this out at 3. I think it's very powerful, and in matchups where it's not good, you can you can side it, put it in the side deck, and side some hand traps. Speaking of, we have the non-engine. Of course, these are adaptable to whatever your meta is, and you can also cut down on non-engine a bit to go up in Hecahands engine or in Chimera engine. For example, Nibiru is probably the weakest of these here, so you could cut these down and just go with Charmies and maybe more Charmies, and then you play Board Breakers if you want, but I like this approach, especially if you have monsters in your hand. They are Guardian Chimera fodder. So that is the main deck. Very clean, nothing really spicy about it, but that's what we have with Hecahands right now until we get the new support. Then we have the extra deck. Of course, we run the Chimera, and then we have 2 Performate. Because we're no longer like a big Fiendsmith package, I wanted to have more Performates for more grind game, especially since all of these can also bring back your Hecahands. So wherever your Jawza is, you can bring it back with one of these and then use the effect, and Jawza can add from grave. So you can just add back a counter trap, and you have a lot of interaction that way. Then we of course have the Guardian Chimera, the biggest payoff for your Chimera fusion, and then we run one of the Azamina Sol Eri Sichton, I don't know. It's an illusion plus a fiend monster, and when it's fusion summoned, you can target 1 card on the field and send it to the graveyard. It has another effect that has to do with Sinful Spoils, but that doesn't really matter. I just wanted a second target for Chimera fusion for going second or as interaction, and this has the least amount of strings attached to it. So it is also level 6, so for your rank 6 place, that's nice. It is an illusion, yeah, so you cannot make Caesar with it, but we have another level 6. We have the 1 Jawza. For space issues, I was on 2, but yeah, because the extra deck is a bit tight because of the Fiendsmith engine. You just bring this back with your Chimera stuff, it's fine. And for the Fiendsmith stuff, we have Requiem, Sequence, Agnum Day. This is important, for OTKs, but also because in the main line you need a Link 3, and this is just a Light Fiend Link 3, so you can recycle this, so it's basically 3 to Link Climb. We have the Lacrima Fusion, no longer on Necroquip, we have now this, because you don't need Desiree now to OTK, because you have these 2, because this burns, and then you bring it back, like you hit and you bring it back, you do a lot of damage that way. And then we have the Caesar as our payoff and Nip protection. So that is the Fiendsmith part of the deck. And then one piece to tie all of these engines together is a Bawaku. That is why we need the Link 3 to climb. And this can bring back everything that you want, right? It can bring back your Fiendsmith cards if you need those. It can bring back your Chimera cards like Performate or Mirror Sword Knight. And it can also bring back Jawza. While also during a draw phase giving you a mulligan basically. Then we have the Chaos Angel, which works with all of the engines. So heroes, you have a level 4 light monster, Fiendsmith obviously level 6 light, and Chimera you have the Apprentice, which is a level 6 dark. You have Mirror Sword Knight which is level 4 light, and then the Hecahands cards. You have this is a level 7 dark, but you can hit a if you have like a Ghost Ogre or something, right, you can make Chaos Angel that way. This is a level 6 light, this is a level 6 light, and if this is sent to the graveyard, it can revive a Hecahand, so you can just bring back Yadel or this, and then you turn it into a Chaos Angel. And if you brought back Yadel and you turn it into a Chaos Angel, then Yadel also triggers and sets you a Hecahand card. And obviously this is also good into many matchups because, for example, Dracotail, some versions, if they're not on Fallen of the Virtuous, they cannot out it if it's in defense mode. And then from there on out, you have to grab some resources, but then you can go for the kill after. Then for the other rank 6, we have Lars, which is an Omni, kind of. And we make this because we have the Apprentice and we have our Hecahand. So if you draw your Hecahand engine already, you can go through lines where your, for example, your Baphomet dumps a Hecahand card and you revive one. You make Lars and you make Lars with a Yadel under it. And if you detach to negate, then the Yadel going to the grave will set you a counter trap when it's sent to the grave. So that you have a counter trap or hidden Hecahands, you can set that too for your next turn. And also just a good board piece, right? Especially against Dracotail. You can also, if you can make this and Caesar, that's just very, very strong. And then for the last slot, just utility, we have SP Little Knight, especially since we are stealing monsters from your opponent. So we want to have something to turn it into, and SP Little Knight is just good. You make this, you banish something. Sometimes you make SP Little Knight to banish something in your grave, so that if you only went through Baphomet in your combo and not the OG Chimera, you can bring it back after you banish it with SP. That's it for the extra. And for the side deck, we have 3 Purulia. This was Meowths before, but I got the hint that we are very heavily targeting Malice while not having anything for Canine. So we swapped the Meowths for the Purulia as our Charmy of choice in the side deck. Then we have 3 Droll, just for decks that search too much. And we have 3 Chaos Hunter now. This is a trend recently that people play Chaos Hunter over Lancea because right now Malice is not playing it out to this. No Nightmare. And also this is a Fiend, so against Malice, if you go first, you can just side this. You can even just side one in, and you just set it up with your Chimera engine, send it to the grave with Baphomet, and then revive it with the Chimera or a Bow. Then, because we need something to side in going first for the Fuvalos, we have more Hecahands engines. So 2 hidden Hecahands just for more consistency. And we run the Breos here because post-side your opponent will be on Droll, will be on Fuvalos, and you don't want the Gaigas into Fuvalos because it summons from the deck. So you rather make the Breos then, try to get something from their hand, special summon it, and then you basically negated the draw, right? Or against a Droll, they only have 4 cards left, you go into Breos, take one of their cards, and then they own 3 cards, and hopefully, even though you don't full combo, they don't have enough to push through. For the last slots, we of course have the Diabels as your going first floodgate of choice. This is really good against Dracotail because they do set cards. I was considering, End of Anubis, which negates cards that activate in the grave, but I figured you don't really need it against Dracotail. If you set this up, this should be good enough, because they set their spells and traps, and then this can pop them. Of course, if they send Pan or Mululu, then that's obviously a different thing. But they have to get there first, right? So they just start setting a card, and because it's Dracotail, most of their spells are not anything else. They can set a trap, of course, but you have a counter trap, right? So even if they bluff or if they don't bluff, they set a Kitu, you think it's a trap, they activate it, you still have the counter trap from the Hecahands. So really, really hard for Dracotail to push through this. And then you have, for the last 2 slots, I wanted something flexible, so I was thinking about Bell, I was thinking about Valor, but Spellcard Monster Reborn is also a pretty good card in this deck. It's Graveyard Hate, but also you take a card from your opponent, and then you can make your Jaza with it, or you can just Baphomet, send anything, and then you can activate this, set up this without wasting a camera effect on it, and then it's already on the field during your turn. So that is the deck profile. Let's show you 2 of the combos. All right, so let's talk about the 1.5 combo with Nightmare Apprentice. I added 4 more cards to the hand just so you can track hand size with this combo, because we do have discards in this combo, 2 to be precise, just so that you can track how many cards we have left in the hand for Guardian Chimera later. So we're going to start off by summoning the Nightmare Apprentice, discarding one of our Fuvalos, and then using the effect to search. Now, you can go through the whole line. You can go Quaddle, of course. You can just go directly into Murasort Knight, depending on what your hand is, right? If they roll you, you can just summon this and set a Chimera Fusion, and then you're still good. So, but like if you don't just have this, what you want to do is you grab the Quaddle, you discard it, you grab the Murasort Knight, and just so that you can get this into the grave for the targeting protection. Then you can normal summon the Murasort Knight and use that one to summon a Gazelle. Now, previously, I would just Quaddle into Gazelle, because if your opponent ashes the Murasort Knight, you're sad, whereas if they ash or imperm the Gazelle, you can still go into Moon of the Closed Heaven, but that line no longer works, so might as well just go for the greedy approach. So the Gazelle will get you a Chimera Fusion, which you can then activate to fuse your board. Again, this is assuming you have no other engine pieces in hand. If you have engine pieces in hand, try to fuse with them, especially your Hecahands cards can be good if you pocket them in the grave, because they do something if sent there. So, or for example, if you have a Hecahand Trap, you can send that with Apprentice, and at some point in the combo get Yaddle into the grave to reset it for free. But here we are going to go into a Baphomet, and you're going to have Chain Links, and you can decide what you prioritize more, the Fiendsmith part or the Hecahands card part, but I would go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. So the Gazelle is going to grab you the Yaddle, that's important, and your Baphomet is going to send the Sinister Necrom. Now you can grab back the Chimera Fusion, and you're going to then go ahead and banish the Sinister Necrom to summon your Adusted Gold, and that you can use to make the Requiem and tribute it off to get an Engraver. Now what you do is go equip Requiem to the Engraver, because now what you're going to do is you're going to go Yaddle, put it back into the deck, and grab yourself a Hidden Hecahands, which you will activate, sending the Requiem. This is why we got Yaddle, because this is the part where we have a free card just off of the equip. And this way we can set ourselves our first trap and add our Iptal that we'll use later. So from now on, we can first do the Fiendsmith stuff. So we're going to link into a sequence, and we can use the sequence to fuse. Now, we're already in nib territory, but the funny thing is, whenever they nib us, they will give us a token, and our opponent is the owner of that token. So if you go Iptal, then whenever whatever you hit or not, you can still make your Jaza just with the Hecahands monster and a token. So keep that in mind. But here we're going to go, and we're of course going to fuse the 2 cards that are not Engraver. And we are going to go into Lacrima. So Lacrima now will target the Engraver to revive it. We're not playing Lurie or something, so we don't add it to our hand. And here, because we haven't used the Engraver Grave effect, we're going to link these 2. This is why we run the Agnonday, because we need link material here. So we need to make the most out of Engraver, whereas if we just made Caesar, we would not use the Engraver Grave effect, and that's a wasted body. So we're going to use it now. So we shuffle back the sequence, and you can see like how we already recycled all of the Fiendsmith engine already. So we can just go again next turn with the Engraver and Grave and one of these in the grave as well. So here we make the Caesar. If they haven't dipped us until here, now we have the protection, and then we can start making Hecahands plays. So we can activate the Iptal to shuffle it into the deck, and we summon the Gygas, and the Gygas will look into the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. It is very likely that you hit. If you don't, you just make a bow with these 2 and you just call it a day. You summon the Murasort Knight for the opponent's turn, so you can make Baphomet. But if you hit, you'll, let's say we hit a 5 mana, and we're gonna tribute these two to make your Jawza. Now you can activate the Jawza effect, and that will get you your second trap. Now, if you want to play the fusion, the Xeno, you can get the fusion here. You will have the Jawza here and the Gygas in the grave. You'll need one more Hecahands monster. So that is something you would get from activating Ibel and negating their monster, summoning to your field, and that then counts as a Hecahands monster for your fusion. But what I like to do is just set the counter trap here. And now we can go and link these two into our Abao, and then we use the Abao, discarding another card, banishing it, and bringing back our Hecahands monster, just so that the counter traps are active. We cannot get Bestial because we have Caesar, so that's nice. And then, of course, you're going to set the Chimera Fusion, you're going to set Imperms if you have them. And what you end on is, in the end phase, of course, the Abao comes back. You will have two summon negates. You have the Jawza, which can't be destroyed by battle. And if this sticks during your turn, you can add a Hecahands cards from your deck or your grave to your hand. So you have follow-up. You have two counter traps that, whatever they negate, you can set for yourself or summon for yourself, like monsters you summon, spell traps you set. So that's more resources. And you have the Baphomet in the grave that can summon something that is banished, which at this point right now is just the Necrom, but you can do more stuff. I mean, even if you bring back the Necrom, you will have the Adusted Golden deck, so that is more follow-up. And of course, during the opponent's turn, you can use a Bawaku if you don't have anything else to discard another card, banish it, and you bring back the Mirror Sword Knight, which you can tribute to summon your Baphomet, and that'll add you 2 cards. So these two. And then if you don't want to make Guardian Chimera, you can just make the Hand Rip Chimera, and that will make your Quaddle and your Mirror Sword Knight negate live. So that is just 1.5 combo, and it is a big board. 2 summon negates and 2 like negates for whatever you want, plus follow-up, plus more. Now for a less impressive but very interesting nonetheless combo, we have 4 whatever cards and Quaddle or Mirror Sword Knight. We only run 1 Mirror Sword Knight, but the interesting thing about this combo is that it's basically legal in Genesis as well. So if you want to play this deck in Genesis, this is mostly playable. You have to cut the Quaddles, of course, because they're, for whatever reason, they are 33 points, and you have to cut the Fiendsmith engine. But the rest of the deck functions in Genesis. So if you want to see a deck profile for Genesis Chimera Hecahands, let me know. But you're going to discard the Quaddle, and you're going to grab the Mirror Sword Knight, or you already have the Mirror Sword Knight. So then you normal summon it, and you're going to tribute to get the Baphomet. We are doing OG Chimera combos now. So Baphomet adds you Chimera Fusion and Gazelle. And you're going to activate the Chimera Fusion, fusing these 2 off for a Chimera. And now you're going to go Chaining 1, Chaining 2, Chaining 3. So the Gazelle is going to add you an illusion monster. This time it's the Iptal. And your Baphomet gets you back the Mirror Sword Knight. After that, you can grab back your Chimera Fusion. And now you already have the Hand Rip set up. You have the Chimera Fusion in hand. You have the Mirror Sword Knight for the opponent's turn. And you will have the Quaddle set up in grave and the Mirror Sword Knight set up in grave. But we already have, we added the Hecahand card. So we can go activate Iptal, shuffle it into the deck. And we are going to summon your Gygas, which again looks at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. We hit a 5 mana, and then we tribute those off for a Jawza. Now you can use Jawza to add the hidden Hecahands, and then you're going to activate it. If you have anything to set that you don't need, like a spare Chimera Fusion, you can set that and send it. But otherwise, you have to make a decision here. So, do you want to get rid of your Jawza? Probably not, because it's your only Hecahand monster. But do you want to get rid of your Mirror Sword Knight? Then you'll lose out on the tribute effect, but you'll get the negate. Or do you want to tribute the Chimera? Then you'll lose out on these 2 effects, but you have the revive already set up for example, a Baphomet, which gives you more fodder than the Mirror Sword Knight, unless you play a second Baphomet. Now, in Genesis, I like to send this because we don't play Coatl there. Here, I would probably go and do this, if we have enough monsters, and then fuse this off later. Either way, you're getting one Yodel, and you're going to set one counter trap. I would go for the spell trap here, and then you activate the Yodel, put it back into the deck, and then you're going to grab the other counter trap. You're going to set your Chimera Fusion, and you're going to end your turn, and you still have 4 cards in hand. Your opponent has to discard a card, and you have 2 negates here for targeting and for monster effects. You have a monster negate, counter trap, and you have a spell trap negate. Plus, post side, you can Chimera Fusion this Chimera with any illusion that you have in hand, if you have one, or any beast. Make the Fusion Baphomet, send your Floodgate of choice, and then revive it with this, which is really nice because you can back up your Floodgate with 2 counter traps. So that is the other 1-card combo. So that is also going to be it for the video. Now, there are various 2-card combos. So, but this Chimera has always been a very free-flowing deck. So all I can say is that if you have Engine already, try to, if you have, for example, Mirror Sword Knight, try to not go into Baphomet if you can, because that locks you out of Xyz's place. And then if you have extra Engine, try to fuse like your Hecahands away, and then send Iptal to bring 1 back, so that you have 2 level 6s here, and those can make a Lars in addition to your end board, for example. Or if you don't get level 6s on board, but other random bodies, you can always just throw the SP Little Knight on the board. But other than that, it's mostly the same game plan. I really hope that this deck gets more support so it can stand on its own more. I think what this deck wants is a way to get another monster into the grave during their, and the Hecahands monster into the grave during their setup combo, because that means you can turn 1 Xeno more consistently. Xeno is the other fusion. I don't have it here, but it's the big fusion 3 Hecahands monsters that looks at 2 extra deck cards from your opponent and summons 1 for yourself. And that is once per turn during your main phase, so you can do it during your turn, your opponent's turn. Very toxic card. But generally, during your setup combo, you don't have 3 Hecahands monsters, so you can only make it on your opponent's turn, and it gets significantly weaker doing that. But that is it for the video. Thanks everyone for watching, and if you want to see a Genesis deck profile for this, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you with more Spenta stuff for the next days. Bye.